everybody. So today we're going to be talking about relationships. And if you've noticed on the channel, I really don't have any relationship videos. Okay, so the reason why I decided to do a video on relationships is because I've noticed this growing trend, which is amazing. It really is. Because my friends and I, we talked about this stuff 5 years ago because we noticed it. But we're noticing that there are a lot of conscious guys or somewhat conscious guys who are giving out the guy code. And so what's happening is it's creating this movement with women who are now coming to this realization that the relationships that they have been in for a while have been somewhat unhealthy. And we're not going to put any blame on the guys because, you know, it goes both ways, ladies. Trust me, it does. Because if you were in a relationship with somebody that was unhealthy or spiritually toxic, you are part of the paradigm. So we can't put the blame just on the guys. But what the good thing is that it's shifting the women, it's bringing the feminine energy up. And so that's a great thing. So what I really want to do today is focus on a third dimensional relationship and what that looks like. And so if you identify with some of these points, these are the ones that I kind of weeded through with my friends, and we sat and we talked about what would be really good to share with you guys. So it's a two-part video. So the first part, we're going to talk about identifying a third dimensional relationship. And then the next part of the video, we're going to talk about where this is all leading to, which is the fifth dimensional relationship. The fifth dimension. Okay, so let's start off with the first point that you can use to identify whether or not you are in the throes of a third dimensional relationship. First of all, it's important to know that everybody that lives in the third dimension, which is the third dimensional way of thinking, it's a mindset, it's the mindset that the whole world is usually sitting in right now. Everybody at some point will have a third dimensional relationship. They're important. These relationships are designed to break, okay? They're designed to make you feel loss, pain, hurt, disillusion, confusion. These are the relationships that we go into thinking, oh, it's the fairy tale and it's amazing and it's fun in the beginning, and then they start to fall apart. So these are normal, okay? They're normal. Yes, they're painful. Some of them are very confusing. Some of them are just like round and round you go. But yes, they are designed to break, to take you to the next level of relationships that are really good for your spirit. So one of the most important characteristics of a third dimensional relationship is conditional love. This is the kind of love where I do for you, you do for me, and if you don't do for me, I'm going to withhold love from you. That's a third dimensional relationship love. It is a distortion of divine love. It kind of feels like love, and it kind of feels like that's the way it should be, but it really isn't. Again, it's distorted. It's a distorted version of the highest love you could ever experience. Another identifier of a third dimensional relationship is the cyclical nature of it. It is the on-off, make-up, breakup, divorce, get back together relationship. It's the one that keeps going round and round in circles, and it never seems to get anywhere. Part of the issue with that is if you watch the video on the subconscious mind and the superconscious and the conscious mind, you remember that a lot of times we get stuck in these patterns. So the patterns that you get stuck in this relationship get stuck in your subconscious, and you keep repeating it. The problem is these are very emotionally dangerous relationships, because what happens is if you don't break the pattern, you find yourself in situations what they call trauma bonding, which is where the relationship breaks up, you don't give yourself time enough to heal, you feel really bad, and the only way you think that you can feel better is to run back to that relationship that is not healthy for you. And so it creates this cyclical situation, and it's very difficult to break. I've seen people get involved in these, and they're really, really painful to watch. But the interesting thing is a lot of us can't get involved. We have to stay out of it because that is part of a person's journey. So if you find yourself in the on-off relationship, that could be a sign that you're having a third dimensional relationship. Oh, here's another good one. Expectation and validation. Oh, we've all been there, right? We all expected that other person to do right by us, to love us back as much as we are like giving up to them. Expectations a lot of times do not get met, and they're met with disappointment. And also validation. being in a relationship that makes you feel like you are important and you're validated. I know what that's all about, and I hear it all the time. Because as a single person who's kind of on the strange side of like, I could really be alone, I hear, you don't have a man. And I'm like, that's okay, I'm fine with that. Really, I am. It's like, I don't need to have a person in my life to validate me. But for a lot of people, to have a marriage mate, to have a boyfriend, to have somebody in their arm, in their life, it's a boost for their confidence. So validation, or the need for another person in your life to validate you, that desire, that craving, is a part of a third dimensional relationship. Okay, so here's one that might be difficult to identify, because a lot of times we go into situations just being honest and open with people, not really knowing what we're dealing with. Manipulation, control, and codependency are signs of a third dimensional relationship. This is where we hear the word mind games or emotional games. This is where we use our power against the other person to get what we want. We're trying to manipulate them. We're trying to control them. You might have some passive aggressive tendencies. We grew up with these traits that we're really not aware of, but we bring them into our relationships. So control, manipulation, codependency. I need that person to make me happy. So in these kind of relationships, you're going to find a lot of pushing and pulling and tugging of the other person, trying to get the other person's power, and it doesn't seem so obvious a lot of the times. It could be very insidious. You tend to have a lot of insecurity in these kind of situations, a lot of jealousy, just using the other person's power against them. That's manipulation, that's control, and it can lead to codependency. Another trait is that the relationship or the other person becomes your purpose. Okay, so I'm going to share a secret with you. A person is not a purpose, okay? They're not a purpose. They're a person. A purpose is an action. It is a behavior. It is something that you do. When you make a person your purpose, you are stealing from your own self. You're stealing from your ability to discover and to expand on your purpose. And we see this in a lot of third dimensional relationships when the focus is, I've got to do everything in my power to keep this person in my life. Sound familiar? Okay, so just keep that in mind. Could be something that you're experiencing if you're having one of those kind of relationships. Something else to consider with low vibrational relationships, they usually sometimes originate in the lower half of our bodies, in our root chakras, sacral chakras, and solar plexus chakras. So those are lower. They're lower than the heart. And so what you'll find a lot of times that people will engage in intimate relationships or sexual relationships thinking that it will lead to the higher part, which is love. So a lot of times in third dimensional relationships, you will find that sex and the euphoric nature of sex can be easily misunderstood to be love. I've seen people get lost behind anatomy, and it's something that we really have to be aware of, because when you get involved in an intimate relationship with someone, it's not just physical that you're dealing with. You're also dealing with energetic. And so what happens a lot of times, these sexual relationships that are not rooted in higher love tend to steal energy from the other person or from each other, or you become energetic vampires to each other. It stuff really happens. It's very draining. And you also open up channels for connection that are eventually very difficult to break. So a third dimensional relationship or a low vibrational relationship will have a very high sexual connotation to it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with sex. It's amazing. There's a reason for it. There's like, oh my God, thank God for sex, right? But what we're trying to do is figure out how we can evolve out of that mindset, that physical mindset, and where we can go with the sexual relationship, which, wait till you hear all the aspects of a five-dimensional relationship and sex. We're going to talk about that in another video. Okay, so last but not least, what I want to talk about is this nature that we have that is very natural to us, but it becomes very distracting. And in low vibrational relationships, you will see it a lot. And it is the attachment to the soulmate, the twin flame, the twin soul relationship, where everybody you meet, you are looking at them as, that's the one. Okay, so we all want to transcend to high vibration relationships. We all want to find someone that we energetically jive with, vibrate with, get along with. That's great. But what happens in third dimensional relationships, they become a focus. They become so focused that we forget to live. And part of finding that vibrational match is becoming vibrationally balanced yourself. So if you're not vibrationally balanced, you're going to think that every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jane, Matilda is going to be your soulmate. And when that doesn't happen, all it does, it adds to more disappointment and confusion as to why you can't align with this person. You have to be aligned with yourself first. So these are just some of the characteristics I wanted to go over with you. I'm not going to do part 2 right now because I really want everyone to just kind of sit and look at where they are. And just remember that where you are is an important part on your journey. It is not good, it is not bad, it just is where you are. There's a great opportunity ahead of you when you find yourself in this kind of relationship and you can discover and identify what it is, because then you know what to do next. You can move out of it and know that you can move out of these relationships with confidence, that you will not be losing when you let go of these relationships. So in the next video, what we're going to talk about is how we can transcend these relationships, the process to finding ourselves in fifth dimensional relationships, and how amazing they can be. So until the next time, live in awareness, pay attention, live in spirit, stay inspired, and live in love, because that is the divine life. See you guys next time.